All right. Hey, everybody. We're here for night four of four of the Democratic National Convention. We are going to be seeing Joe Biden officially accept the nomination today. We're going to hear his speech. There maybe will be memes. There maybe will be all sorts of different things. So I'm glad you're with me on this fourth of four consecutive nights. Boy, it has been a long week, but it is coming to a close today. And starting at the top of the hour, let's look at what's on the calendar today. In addition to Joe Biden, we will be hearing from Senator Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg, a performance by the Chicks. Is that the new name for the Dixie Chicks? I think it is. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, Senator Tammy Baldwin, and Senator Tammy Duckworth. Senator Chris Coons, I could have sworn he was on the program 2 days ago. I guess he's back on it. There will be a performance by John Legend and Common. Andrew Yang will be speaking. Michael Bloomberg, John Meacham, Dr. Vivek Murthy, Congresswoman Deb Haaland. I don't know who a lot of these people are. Secretaries of State Alex Padilla and Jocelyn Benson. And then Vice President Joe Biden. And then there's an after party, if you can imagine that, hosted by Andy Cohen. Okay. So a big night planned, and they will be starting around the top of the hour, if not shortly thereafter. Corey Price says, thank God. Where you been, bro? Let's get it. I'm here. I'm here, and we're doing it right now. Kaladin says, 1 year and many more to go. Yeah, Kaladin subscribing for 12 months over on Twitch Prime. Donald Trump did give a completely unhinged press event earlier. Look at some of this. I mean, these were the rantings of a lunatic. Just take a listen to some of the stuff he said, and we'll see how triggered he is today during the event.
We're doing great in New Hampshire. These are real polls. These aren't suppression polls. These aren't polls where they do registered voters. Registered. No. You want to do voters that are going to vote. Registered voters. You want to do what's called likely voters. Likely. In other words, people that are likely to vote, not registered voters, many of whom have died.
Okay, so there's that. What else does Aaron have for us? This was just complete, I don't know what he's talking about in this one.
Got to tell the truth about things, and he's going to do a lot better if he does, but hopefully not well enough. Right now, we are leading a war that's incredible, but right now we're leading in so many polls that they refuse to put out. We're doing so good in this state, in North Carolina, in Florida.
Okay. I mean, it's crazy what he's even talking about. Let's see. Here's one where he tells a personal story about boxer Larry Holmes, but I guess botches his name.
You, the American people, from Scranton to Easton. How's Ernie doing? Good? Huh? How good is Ernie, right? Is he great? Ernie Holmes. He was heavyweight champ, right? The champ. Larry, sorry about that. I know another one named Ernie Holmes. Larry Holmes, is he still in the area of, how good was Larry, right? That was probably Muhammad Ali's most dangerous fight.
I can't even take it. Then Trump again on a rant about indoor plumbing.
Little things, and they laugh at it when I say it. The light bulb, those new expensive light bulbs. I said, what happened to the old ones? They're better. They said they were mandated out. I said, why? Nobody could explain why. I said, we're letting them back. The light bulbs are back. Dishwashers. They have dishwashers. They don't give you any water. They give you not enough water, so they're lousy. So what do people do? They press the button again and again. No water. I let them have lots of water. We just got back from Whirlpool in Ohio. They're thriving now because of what I did to competition from other countries. I tariffed them. And Whirlpool now went from a company that was just about over to a company that's thriving.
It takes a high. You really need a power flush to satisfy Donald Trump. Anyway, all right. Let's do one more. Let me find a really crazy one. Clean the forests is pretty crazy. Blast the PA governor. It's not even clear. Let's see what this one is. This will be a surprise.
I repealed that horrible tax. So many taxes. How many taxes did I repeal? I'm getting a list of them now. I'll have it for you for the next meeting. because I'll be back to Pennsylvania. That I promise.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. I really don't. Oh, Trump attacked Joe Biden for leaving Scranton when he was 10 years old.
So tonight we have Slow Joe will speak at the Democrat convention, and I'm sure that he'll just knock him dead. And he'll remind us that he was born in Scranton, but you know, he left like 70 years ago, right? He left a long time ago. He wasn't born. You know, I view it differently. He'd say he was born here, but he left when he was like 8, 9, or 10. So he left 68 years ago. He left a long time ago. So I view it differently. He wasn't born here. He abandoned Scranton.
Wow. Yeah. So something very, very wrong with the president there. So that was earlier today in Pennsylvania. Bizarre. Completely bizarre. Okay. I have some super chats to look at. JR asks, David, whatever happened to the quiet resistance in the Trump administration that made itself known back in September of 18? Was that even a real thing to start? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Azar says dead people voted in Michigan. Turns out they were alive when they cast their ballot, but died before the August election. The system of checks and balances works. The votes were not counted. Okay. Don't know too much about that. JR says, recently you fear too many people are becoming complacent in this election. Other than voting and conversations, how do you see an active non-complacency work? Well, those are the things now. Everybody has to vote and make sure others vote. That, I mean, we're down to 2.5 months at this point, barely more than 2 months. So, and then afterwards, check out my endless videos about activism that works. And then Ricky says, hey, David, when do states become swing states, or are those pretty much set in stone? I don't know what the technical definition of a swing state is. I don't know if it's gone to both, one or the other party at least once in the last X number of cycles. I'm not exactly sure how you define it, but you know it when you see it. That's for sure. Let me say a big thank you to Peter McManus. Peter is new member number 1 today at joinpacman.com. And I have a good feeling that today we're going to get our 50 members and patrons, and we're going to open up the phone lines. I don't know. I have this feeling last day of the DNC, have a sense it's going to happen. I really do. Zesty African says, from the standpoint of Bing, Bing, Bong, and Warshers, considering that Trump is closing the gap on Biden, what should Biden do differently going forward? I don't know that there's much Biden can do differently. We knew that this was not going to be a 15-point win for Joe Biden. We knew that as we got closer to the next phase of the virus and hopefully at some point a vaccine, we knew Trump would try to take credit for it and some fraction of the electorate would fall for it and vote for Trump because they think he had something to do with the vaccine. We knew all of it. Okay. So it's really going to come down to turnout. It's fundamentally where we are and what it is at this point. There's really no other way to say it, quite frankly. And that may not be good for us. It may be good for us. Remember, they're planning to suppress the vote as powerfully as they can. And that's something that it's more reason that it's going to have to be an overwhelming win, period, end of story. Nothing else to even say about it. By the way, did you all hear that Steve Bannon got arrested and indicted today? Because it turns out he, like many other people associated with Donald Trump, is accused of being a criminal and has been accused of committing crimes, and they relate to that stupid "We Build the Wall." It was this vet who just raised money to build the wall himself. Raised, I think, about $25 million. Steve Bannon was involved. Trump now claims that he never was in favor of that movement. He said it today. The truth is he had spoken in favor of the movement a while ago. I mean, it's just crazy. There's so many scandals. So now it's Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Papadopoulos, Carter Payton. It's just on and on and on. It's just a gang of criminals, quite frankly. Melissa Hosfeld says, man, can't believe 8-year-old Biden bailed on Scranton. WTF is Donald J. Trump talking about, as always? Yeah, it's incoherent. It's completely and totally incoherent. It makes no sense whatsoever. And the rants about the toilets. I mean, it's like, what is Trump doing in the bathroom that his obsession with water pressure and toilets, it's absolutely and completely bizarre. Okay. Oh, people wanting an update on the projection for 1 million subscribers. Yeah, I haven't looked today. Let's take a look at where we are. Subscriber milestone. October 25th now, the projected date where we will pass 1 million subscribers on YouTube. That's exciting. The goal was Election Day, and we're on track for it. We just crossed over into 957,000. We're only 43,000. This is like the home stretch. We are we are the vast majority of the way there. 957,000 as of right now. On track if we can keep the pressure up for 1 million on October 25th. So I appreciate everybody that's been involved and participating in that. That's going to be a big deal. And by the way, we also passed 45,000 on Twitch. I've only been on Twitch 12 months, and that's very exciting as well. Unclear when we're projected to hit 1 million on Twitch. That I don't have an easy answer to offhand. I'll have to run some numbers, but it's certainly years away would be my guess. Dominic Richardson says, is Biden more progressive than Obama? Well, his platform is. Biden's climate platform and the milestones that it includes are more aggressive than what Barack Obama had in his. On healthcare, Biden's running on something to the left of Obama. He's running on Obamacare plus public option, lower Medicare buy-in by 5 years, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the progressive dream, but I think on just about every issue, Biden is running to Obama's left, and it makes sense. It's been 4 years, and the country has moved to the left. Thanks to Tina G for grabbing a YouTube membership at the soy boy level, and also a big thank you to Mikkel Browning, who is new member number 2 today at joinpacman.com. I do appreciate that very, very much. The coupon code is live 2020 now, and we'll see if we get those phone lines open today. Thomas DiMaiola says, with all the McDonald's he probably eats, it's not difficult to imagine why Trump has an obsession with fixing plumbing issues. That's pretty good. I like that one. Well said, Thomas. You really have a way with words. That's clever. That's clever. I like that one. This is California Governor Gavin Newsom. We are just about a minute from the scheduled start. We will be hearing from Joe Biden tonight, but if you're just joining us, it's a huge list of people. We're going to hear from Bloomberg, Yang, Senator Chris Coons again, Senators Tammy Baldwin and Tammy Duckworth, the two Tammys, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, the band formerly known as the Dixie Chicks will perform. Pete Boot Edge will perform. Will speak. Senator Cory Booker we're going to hear from. John Meacham. I don't know exactly who Dr. Vivek Murthy is, but I'm interested. Minnie will be speaking tonight. And then we're also going to be keeping a close eye on Donald Trump's Twitter. Yesterday, Trump was hugely triggered during Barack Obama's speech, and I guess he's scheduled a diversion. He will be interviewed by Sean Hannity tonight at 9 p.m., so that's certainly something you could tune into if you wanted, I guess, if you have to. Oof Gotham says, Cuke and Zook update, please. So my urban garden, the Zooks are almost dead. So I was away for like 9 days, and it was drought, big drought, powerful drought. And the Zooks are not looking so good, although I'm trying to rescue them. The Cukes are looking very good. I've already pickled one of them, and I'm looking very, very strongly at throwing a few more in my pickle brine pretty soon. Tanner Kaptanaglu says, love the show, David. Good luck in PogChamps, Baba Booey. And Sarah Stein says, what on earth do we do about the Electoral College? So scary. Well, we're not going to be able to do anything between now and November. So I believe we're going to have to do something after November. I don't think we can do anything about it in the immediate. I mistakenly said yesterday that Twitch subscriptions were 60 and 40% off. I was wrong. I was wrong about that, and I apologize. I was misinformed. I've been told that it is actually 20% off. So that was just a mistake. David Gardner says, David, Postal Service agents arrested Bannon. I don't know if that's a joke. I can't imagine that that's true. Steven Does Stuff says, hey, David, I'm out of town away from family. Will you give a shout out to my fiancée, Anastasia? Thanks. Absolutely. Anastasia, maybe soon to be Anastasia Does Stuff. Big shout out. I'm sure Steven misses you. Aaron Dadas. Oh, maybe postal agents did arrest Bannon because wire fraud considered a mail scam? I'm not even sure why they aided in the arrest. Okay, all right. Well, we don't know. It may be true. Aaron Dadas has grabbed a Soy Boy membership, and Sabres Man says the RNC is going to be a horror show. Yeah, I anticipate it's going to be insane, absolutely insane. And I'll be back with you guys on Monday for the RNC, of course. Thanks to Grungy Dan for the support on Twitch. Chakuseki says there is a new radical, not QAnon, QAnon conspiracy theory involving Hillary Clinton. Beware of fringe elements from David's Veggie Garden. Well said. Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. Jay Heyman has subscribed with Prime. Alex Kepke says, do the sir routine. Okay, the sir routine is when Trump says, they came to me, they said, sir, I'm having to flush toilets 10 or 15 times. I said, we got to fix that. We got to fix that. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Sleepy Joe won't. Sleepy Joe doesn't even know where he is. He abandoned Scranton, but we're going to do it. Yeah, they said, sir, whatever is wrong with the water pressure, I'm able to flush nothing. So we're going to take care of it. These Dems with their special light bulbs and their toilets, we're going to fix it for you very soon. Okay, our bread has cheered over on Twitch, which I very much appreciate. Traced Havoc says, do you think the situation with the post office will be rectified before the election? No. In other words, what are the chances of a funding bill passing the Senate? So I think that unfortunately too much damage has been done. Louis DeJoy announced that he would be doing no more to the post office, but he may have already done too much. That's what scares me. Neptune says, what should President Biden do with Space Force? That's actually a good question. I don't know. Maybe he should turn it into some kind of scientific endeavor for exploring rather than militarizing space. Majora says, hashtag in before a million. Cheers, David. Appreciate your grind and everything you do. Thank you. I appreciate that. We do have a hype train leaving the station. We've not successfully completed one at all this entire DNC phase. Oz Rogers says, should Sleepy Joe avoid debating Trump for as long as possible? The debates are scheduled, so I don't know what you mean by as long as possible. It seems avoiding publicity has worked so far for the Biden campaign. Yeah, I mean, I've said I don't care if he debates. I don't need debates at any time during this election at any point, really. Thank you to Mitsuo and Waxwell, who between the two of them have gifted 15 subscriptions, if you can believe it. Kyle Hopper says, yo, David, love the show. I joined Pac-Man a couple months ago and never got one of your powerful shout-outs. Do you have to donate plasma for one? You do. You do. And let's go to Andrew Yang.
America, I'm Andrew Yang. You might know me as the guy who ran for president talking about math and the future. Unfortunately for all of us, that future is now. The pandemic has accelerated everything. If you're like me and my wife, Evelyn, you don't know if your child's school is going to reopen this fall. 72% of Americans believe that this is the worst time we have ever experienced. And 42% of the jobs that have been lost, millions of jobs, will never return. We are in a deep, dark hole, and we need leaders who will help us dig out. I know many politicians promise and then fail to deliver. If you voted for Trump or didn't vote at all back in 2016, I get it.
Right.
Many of us have gotten tired of our leaders seeming far removed from our everyday lives.
This is important.
And we despair that our government will ever rise to the challenges of our time. But we must give this country, our country, a chance to recover. And recovery is only possible with a change of leadership and new ideas. Bold and innovative policies that will get help into your hands in the midst of this crisis are now possible. But we need your help to turn the page for our country in 75 days. We are here tonight to celebrate Joe Biden's nomination as the Democratic candidate for president. I have gotten to know both Joe and Kamala on the trail over the past year. The way you really get to know a person when the cameras are off, the crowds are gone, it's just you and them. They're real people. They understand the problems we face. They are parents and patriots who want the best for us and our country. And if we give them the chance, they will fight for us and our families every single day. Our future is now, and it is daunting. But I ask you tonight to join me to help Joe and Kamala fight for the promise of America, turn the page for our country, and lead us forward to a future we'll actually be proud to leave to our children. And now I'd like to turn it over to a great Democrat who will be with us throughout the evening. Between the two of us, we have 11 Emmys. How's that for math? One of my favorite actresses, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Hey,
Wow.
Julia.
Hi, Andrew. I'm so glad to see you. So what did you think about Kamala Harris's speech last night?
It was tremendous. I was so happy for her.
I know, me too. She was fabulous. I cannot wait to see her debate our current Vice President, Mika Pints. Or is it Paints?
It's pronounced Ponce, I believe.
Oh, some kind of weird foreign name?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, not very American sounding.
Yeah, that's what people are saying strongly. Well,
boy.
Thank you, Andrew. And
I think it's good to hear from Yang because there's kind of a cult of personality around him and some people who might only vote if he says to.
Julia.
Thank you so much. Good evening, America, and welcome to the fourth night of the 2020 Democratic National Convention, Uniting America. Okay, these last few nights have been going so well, we decided to add a fifth night where we will just play Michelle Obama's speech on a loop.
Oh, no. 5 nights. I can't handle that.
I first met Joe Biden when I was doing my show, Veep. I played the vice president, and he was, in fact, the vice president, and we hit it off immediately. Soon after, I was asked to be on the cover of a magazine. Remember those?
Hype train just happened, by the way.
It was like, oh, what's it going to be? People or Vogue or Rolling Stone? Well, it turns out it was for Arrive, the official onboard magazine of Amtrak, which nobody ever reads, even though it's free. And the day it came out, my phone rang, and it was the vice president telling me he loved the cover and the whole article, and that it was one of the best issues of Arrive he had ever read. And that is just one of the many reasons that I wanted to be here tonight for Joe. And to remind you that Joe Biden not only knows how to read, but also he reads everything.
Right.
You know, I am no policy expert, and I certainly don't pretend to be one, but I have a gut feeling about fairness and what's right, and that is why I am so excited that just in a little while we're going to hear from Joe Biden about his plans for America. Plans for a strong economy that helps working people and small businesses, not just billionaires, and plans to raise the wages for the nurses and teachers and grocery workers that are getting us through this crisis. God love them. So, how can you help Joe? It's super simple. Vote. Right now, you can text VOTE to 30330 to learn about all of your voting options and make the best plan for how to vote in your community, wherever
Everybody
you are.
needs a plan.
An easy way to remember 30330 is that's the year Donald Trump will finally release his tax returns. If we all vote, there is nothing Facebook, Fox News, and Vladimir Putin can do to stop us. But first, let's reaffirm the all-American values that our party and Joe Biden stand for.
Right.
I'm going to direct him to stop after each
Do it
thing,
while
just
you're
so you have that
smiling,
cut
okay?
point. All right, ready? And action.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Cut it. He needs an agent.
Oh, say, can you
Oh, these are the
see
chicks, right?
by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right, the band
Good evening.
formerly known as the
I'm
Dixie
Sister
Chicks.
Simone Campbell, Executive Director of Network and leader of Nuns on the Bus. Tonight marks an important next chapter in our story.
All right, while the Nuns on the Bus do their thing, I do want to say, read a few super chats. Xian says, nothing gets the youth vote like Joe reading Arrive. Stacy says, hey, I joined a while back and never got nothing, no how. Okay, I'm sorry about that, Stacy. Thank you for joining. Adrian Martinez says, you rock way better than Tim Pool. Oh boy, shots fired. Matt Chavez says, you skipped my super chat, David. You owe me $2. I didn't see it. Aditya Dakshinamurthy says, not important in the grand scheme of things, but I wanted to ask, why does your voice get so nasal when you speak Spanish? Oh my God, what a lame question. Jonathan McCartney says, if Biden wins, how do we criticize him from the left without fracturing the overall left-wing coalition in the U.S.? Once he's president, that's not really a big concern that I have. LA Lakers says, have you seen the list of maniacs that will be speaking at the RNC? Looks like it's going to be a real freak show. Yeah, so the St. Louis couple who got their guns and pointed them at protesters will be speaking. One of the Covington kids will be speaking. A bunch of Trump's children are going to be speaking. It's going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely and completely insane. Thank you to Sky Selenite, who's new member number 3 on my website, and Dylan Enthoven, who's new member number 4 at joinpacman.com. Consider yourself invited to join in. Chakuseki says, grumpy and dumpy bunker boy Donald Trump's buddy Bannon arrested for fraud. Can we finally cast them off onto the dung heap of history? Hashtag boater fraud. I agree with everything there. Tristan Nichelle, rather, says, do you see Biden running for 2 terms? I don't know. Crypto Monkey says, is it really fair to send Trump and Pence into a battle of wits when they are completely unarmed? We're going to see very soon. Here's Senator Chris Coons.
Change, from abolition and women's suffrage to the labor movement and the struggle for civil rights. Joe Biden will continue that progressive march towards justice, inspired by respect for the dignity of all people, people Joe believes were made in the image of God. Joe learned that from his parents and the nuns and priests right here in Delaware who taught him and inspired in him a passion for justice. I'm Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, and I want to tell you about my friend, Joe Biden. His faith is strong, and it's personal and private. For Joe, faith isn't a prop or a political tool. I've known Joe about 30 years, and I've seen his faith in action. Joe knows the power of prayer, and I've seen him in moments of joy and triumph, of loss and despair, turn to God for strength. Joe's comforted me in my toughest moments, as he has so many others. I'll never forget how Joe took the time to offer me words of comfort as my father lay in hospice. Time and again, I've seen him stop everything and listen, really listen, to someone who needs a shoulder to cry on or a partner in prayer. That compassion, that empathy is part of his character. More than anything, Joe's a man of faith and conscience. He'll be a president for Americans of all faiths, as well as people of conscience who practice no particular faith. Joe's faith is really about our future, about a world with less suffering and more justice, where we're better stewards of creation, where we have a more just immigration policy, and where we call out and confront the original sins of this nation, the sins of slavery and racism. Joe knows these are central issues in this election, and for him, they're rooted in faith. Joe knows that it's faith that sustains so many ordinary Americans who do extraordinary things. Nurses who brave infection, firefighters who run into burning buildings, teachers working overtime, especially now. They all deserve a servant leader who knows the dignity of work, who sees them, respects them, fights for them. We need a president who brings people of all faiths together to tackle our challenges, rebuild our country, and restore our humanity. Someone who knows we're called to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God. Joe Biden will be that president. Joe's always known this race is a battle for the soul of our country, and he's right. Joe believes. He believes in both the greatness and the goodness of this country. He believes in us and in what we can do together.
My question is, what is your faith, and how would you use your faith in making decisions for our nation?
Well, Reverend, I kind of know what it's like to lose family. And my heart goes out to you. As you may remember, after Barack and Michelle and I were there, and my family, I came back on that Sunday, the regular service, because I had just lost my son. And I wanted some hope, because what you all did was astounding. I don't know if you all know this. All those who died were killed by this white supremacist. They forgave him. They forgave him. The ultimate act of Christian charity, they forgave him. And you know, Reverend, I'm not proselytizing. I happen to be a practicing Catholic. But I went back to the church because I found, particularly, the black church. In this case, it was an AME. It was not an Episcopal church. I found that there's that famous phrase from Kierkegaard, faith sees best in the dark. I find the one thing it gives me, and I'm not trying to proselytize, I'm not trying to convince you to share my religious views. But for me, it's important because it gives me some reason to have hope and purpose.
Okay.
Just remember, Joe Biden goes to church so regularly that he doesn't even need tear gas and a bunch of federalized troops to help him get there.
Well said.
No one fought harder for your right to vote than John Lewis. Here to speak about him and his legacy, we have one of our great mayors, Atlanta's Keisha Lance Bottoms. Mayor Bottoms, hello. I know that you're recovering from the coronavirus. How are you feeling?
Well, good evening. I feel really good. Thank you for asking. My husband, on the other hand, is still having many of the lingering side effects that people talk about, but all in all, our family's doing great.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, but boy, I think a lot of Americans are going to be dealing with that for a long time. Hey, Mayor, I wanted to ask you something. Is Atlanta ready for Election Day?
We will be ready. And we are going to do everything that we can to make sure that voting goes smoothly. But we are encouraging people, if you can vote early in your state, to please do so. Early vote during the early vote.
Perfect. Excellent advice. Over 40 states now allow some form of early voting. Okay, stay safe, Mayor, and I turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Julia. And good evening. I'm Keisha Lance Bottoms, a mother of 4, and mayor of Atlanta, Georgia, cradle of the civil rights movement, and like so many other cities, a place where the struggle for human dignity continues. I'm proud to have grown up in this city, educated in its public schools, and blessed to have known our hometown heroes like Dr. Joseph Lowry, Dr. C.T. Vivian, and our teacher, our friend, our conscience, our congressman, John Lewis. He walked gently amongst us, not as a distant icon, but as a God-fearing man who did what he could to fulfill the as yet unfulfilled promise of America. People often think that they can't make a difference, like our civil rights icons. But every person in the movement mattered. Those who made the sandwiches, swept the church floors, stuffed the envelopes. They too changed America, and so can we. The baton has now been passed to each of us. We've cried out for justice. We have gathered in our streets to demand change. And now we must pass on the gift John Lewis sacrificed to give us. We must register and we must vote. In his parting essay written to us, Congressman Lewis expressed his pride in the activism that has swept our country. And he reminded us that if we fail to exercise our right to vote, we can lose it. There are those who are disgracefully using this pandemic to spread misinformation and interfere with voting, forcing many in 2020 to still risk their lives to exercise their sacred right to vote. A right that has already been paid for with the blood, sweat, tears, and lives of so many. So let's stand up for our children, our children's children, and for this great democracy that our ancestors worked to build, and let's vote. And let's organize to get others to vote with us. You can help make this happen by texting VOTE to 30330. We know how important it is that we elect real leaders like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, people of honor and integrity who hold justice close to their hearts and believe that the lives of my 4 Black children matter. In the words of womanist poet Audre Lorde, your silence will not protect you. Congressman Lewis would not be silenced, and neither can we. We cannot wait for some other time, some other place, some other heroes. We must be the heroes of our generation because we too are America. Our votes can be our voice.
All right. Very important messages there, and a lot of messages coming in from you guys. Jacob Ball says, I, for one, am outraged the Dixie Chicks were invited to sing after they so disrespectfully refused to blindly support another war. Well said. Hadwell says, how many Trump supporters does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. Trump just says it is, and they all stand in the dark and cheer. That's not bad. Adam Bellows says, your take on why Democrats brought up guns at the DNC, as if that issue's not obvious, seems better to silently drop the assault weapons ban than touch that hot stove. Yeah, we addressed that yesterday. Sabrina Zafar says, honest thoughts on Kennedy v. Markey in Massachusetts. I have at least one, probably 2 or 3 videos about this, and I'm voting for Ed Markey. Over on Twitch, a lot of discussions about salads, and Freedom Jesus gifted 5 subscriptions, which is both important and exciting. Neptune says, do you think Trump will run in 2024 if he loses? I literally have a segment about that on today's podcast, and the answer is no, he will not. Heidi, David, you may want to delete the live stream that was started by accident. Okay, yeah, that's been done. Big SOS Man says, our species must outgrow God and religion. Violetta says, mi padre pregunta si crees. Okay, boy, this is a long question. It's another assault weapons ban question. And she says answer in English, and she'll translate. Okay, so the question is that her dad is asking whether I believe that banning assault weapons and high-capacity assault weapons and or high-capacity magazines affects the Democratic Party and that it will lose centrists and Republicans who don't like Trump. I don't think it makes that much sense to talk about gun policy this particular election because it ranks extremely low on the list of what matters to voters. It's coronavirus, economy, and race relations are the top three. And those together are, I don't remember what percentage, but a lot of what voters care about. So I don't think it's a huge advantage to talk about guns at all, really. Xian says, David, could you make an RNC bingo card? Now that's a good idea. We should have an RNC bingo card for next week. Email me through my website if you have things you think should be in the squares, and I'll put together an RNC bingo card. Shannon Bennis says, did you see that HHS gave primary COVID-19 data collection back to CDC? Too many elements of improprieties? I did not see that yet. Andrew says in Spanish, tantos elementos de cringe en esta convención demócrata. Todos suenan a robots. Okay, so he says, too many elements of cringe in this Democratic convention. They all sound like robots. That's Andrew coming in very strongly with a Spanish super chat. I want to say thanks to, I can tell that this is an Icelandic name, but I have no idea how to pronounce it. Ragnur Sigurdardottir. Oh my God. Okay. I apologize, but you are new member number 5. And I believe that that's it. Someone checking in from Iceland. David Glover is new member number 6 and Gary Grothhouse is new member number 7. Certainly those are easier for me to pronounce. I just don't understand how to say Icelandic names. Very difficult for me. Paul Milbank says, I want this religious nonsense out of the DNC. If you believe that's fine, but church is your platform. Our politics is supposed to be secular. I tend to agree with that. Blake I Eat Steaky subscribed with Prime with the message, David, you the man. Thank you. Dave Pratt says, in addition to DeJoy's sabotage, are you also concerned about the state's ability to tally absentee votes? I'm concerned about every aspect of this upcoming election. There is no aspect you could name that I'm not concerned with. Stephen Whiteside says, after 15 years, are you at all tired of covering politics? Yes. And that is why tonight I am going to announce that when the show ends on, this is a very important day, actually. When the show wraps up on Friday, September 11th, the 19th anniversary of 9/11, we will be ending all shows for a period of 1 week. We will be taking a vacation and then we'll be back. So that will be that.
It will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory.
All right.
To the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against. Yes, glory is destined. Every day women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings.
This is John Legend in Common.
The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, his spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through America with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots we on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory. it's all done, we'll cry glory, oh glory, oh glory, we'll cry glory, oh glory, Selma's now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles. From dark roads, heroes, to become a hero. Facing the League of Justice, power was the people. Enemy is lethal, a king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald ego. The biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. We sing, our music is the cuts that we bleed through. Somewhere in a dream he had an epiphany. Now we right the wrongs in history. No one can win a war individually. It take the wisdom of the elders, young people's energy. Welcome to the story we call victory. The coming of the Lord, my eyes have seen the glory. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It's ours. It will be ours. Yeah, John. Whoa, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. So sure, we will be sure. So sure to the world. Lord, God be the glory. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, wow.
That was so beautiful, John and Common. Wow. Joe Biden shares John Lewis's belief that every vote matters. Personally, I plan to follow the example of 6 current cabinet members, Vice President Pence and President Trump himself, and vote by mail. To find out everything you need to know about mail-in ballots, your polling place, or even just, am I registered? Text VOTE to 30330. 30330. That would be the president's golf score if he didn't cheat. Okay, look, I'll admit that was a little nasty, but we all know he's a cheater. And I'm proud to be a nasty, nasty woman. You know, when Donald Trump spoke at his inauguration about American carnage, I assumed that was something he was against, not a campaign promise. What we need now is great leadership, someone experienced and hardworking and intelligent, someone who understands the soul of the American people.
I'm historian John Meacham.
So there are a whole bunch of messages that people are sending over to me. Let's see here. Okay, I'm not sure about that. Jacob Ball says Hillary Clinton needs to be the free space on any RNC bingo card. Not a bad idea. Whoa, hold on a second. Where did that go? David Vodolazki says thoughts on Biden transition lead Ted Kaufman telling Wall Street Journal they're preparing an austerity agenda already. Didn't see it. I'll have to look at that. David Cookmeyer says thank you for giving a voice on YouTube to the left. My pleasure. And Twitch as well. Tenavras just subscribed on Twitch and says, I sub so that you can keep that head of hair in check. Also for more chess lessons from Botez. Yeah, that's coming up next week. Brink and Juke Hunter have subscribed with Prime. James Buccino says, is it possible Trump could run for a 3rd term? No. Jason Green says, right now with COVID-19, all originally live events that are being translated to this type of format are cringe. I feel it is the nature of the beast. Yeah, to a certain degree it is. I don't disagree. Jonathan McCartney says, what's the next step for the left if Trump wins? Let's cross that bridge when we come to it, but it's going to be very ugly for a while if that happens. None of us want to experience that devastation on November 4th, so let's not allow that to happen. Alex Stevenson says, is there any possibility you will be covering the movement for a People's Party convention on August 30th? Probably not, because that's a Sunday and weekends off are pretty important right now. Some people asking for captions over here. All right, we can turn some captions on. Jacob Habtamariam says, hey, David, have you seen the huge Trump ads on the YouTube homepage? My ad blocker can't block it. Wonder how many folks they eventually sway. I have seen those. Casey Bates asks, do you know if campaign money goes to artist or volunteer? I don't know what that means. The campaign money is for ads and paying workers. Artist or volunteer? I don't know what you mean. I'm sorry. Gail Sal sends a super chat. Pudding Pop says, I think the campaign is going after suburban women very strongly. That's why we're getting all this religious stuff. Bet we see a lot of Jill Biden too. Well, maybe later. Jill Biden already gave her speech. Gail Sal says, David, you're very handsome. Just saying. Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. Daniel Krieger says, Bernie declined to endorse Markey. I wonder why. No idea. Michigan Mama says, our music is the cut we bleed through. Goosebumps. Mierda Idea says, why are you not reading my super chats? Because they're so lame, and it's clearly the same person as all the other people. They just have a penchant for sending lame super chats. Master 101 says, bingo card idea, alternating between MAGA and CAG, Keep America Great. Yeah, there's going to have to be a lot of that for sure. People asking if the phone lines are opening. Well, maybe if we get to 50 website members and patrons, then the phone lines will indeed open. The coupon code works, joinpacman.com works. I've never seen things work as well as they're working tonight. Let me put it that way for you. And we will, we're already more than a quarter of the way into night 4. I expect we will hear from Joe Biden in about an hour. I would say at about 10:40 would be my guess, with probably a 25-minute speech going 5 minutes past 11. I'm just guessing. I don't know. That seems to be the way that they do it. David Moss says, who's your favorite chess player? I don't have one. I don't know. I love your style of journalism and Melissa. I don't know what that means. My style of journalism and Melissa. All right. Aditya Dakshinamurthy says, your thoughts on criticism of the DNC's message of threat to democracy, ignoring the real issues of people today, eviction, job wage loss since the pandemic, etc. Well, they've mentioned that as well. I don't think it's wrong to do the big systemic critiques at all. But I think that they've also been dealing with some of the immediate impact of the coronavirus. And I think that there's been a pretty good mix of both. Okay, let's see what's next here.
Grateful to be with you here on Indigenous land. The promise of this country is older than our Constitution. Over 500 years ago, thousands of Indian tribes were vibrant, democratic societies with rich cultures and traditions in communities that had sustained them for millennia on lands they loved and respected. My people, the Pueblo Indians, migrated to the Rio Grande Valley in the late 1200s to escape droughts. We were led to the great river and its tributaries, where we established an agricultural tradition that continues to this day. My people survived centuries of slavery, genocide, and brutal assimilation policies, but throughout our past, tribal nations have fought for and helped build this country. There were those like my Laguna grandparents who worked on our country's railroad, and those like my mother, a Navy veteran who served this country with honor. I stand here today, a proud 35th generation New Mexican and one of the first Native American women ever elected to Congress. I'm a symbol of our resilience as the embodiment of America's progress as a nation. I know we can't take our democracy for granted, especially now as people are dying, as our land is abused, as our Constitution is under attack. We must work for it by getting involved, by registering voters, by voting. Voting is sacred. My people know that. We weren't universally granted the right to vote until 1962, and that fundamental right is more important than ever. Whether your ancestors have been here for hundreds of years or you're a new citizen, know this. Whether we vote and how we vote will determine if our nation's promise of social, racial, and environmental justice will outlast us. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris respect our past and understand our present. They will see us through this crisis of leadership that is plaguing our country, and they will help us to build a better future. Thank you.
The first year that I voted.
Okay, a lot happening that I want to keep up with. Austin Smith, as well as Valeria Botvinnik, our new members number 8 and 9 today, putting us at a very strong 9. It's a strong 9. Jacob Ratner asking, are you concerned about the rise of Q in Congress? I am. It's absolutely batshit insane. Matt the Trucker says, keep the awesomeness going. You rock. If you are watching on YouTube, feel free to let me know what your voting plan is via Super Chat. Have you requested a ballot? Are you planning to send it in via mail, deliver it in person, vote early in person, vote on November 3rd in person? I would love to hear from you. David R. says via Super Chat, David, this is feeling like Hillary Clinton rewrapped with a heavy dose of identity politics. Do you really think if they get into office and overtake the Senate, they'll push for the reforms Bernie said they would? I hope so. I'm actually not seeing an overwhelming amount of identity politics this time around. I'm just not seeing that. Oh, I love Sarah Cooper. Let's see what's going on.
Will they be stolen from mailboxes as they get put in by the mailmen? Will they be taken from the mailmen and the mailwomen? Will they be forged? Who is signing them? Who's signing them? What, are they signed at a kitchen table and sent in? Will they be counterfeited by groups inside our nation? Will they be counterfeited maybe by the millions by foreign powers?
Let me put this in my own words. I've heard Donald Trump say some pretty unhinged things. I've heard them over and over and over again. But nothing is more dangerous to our democracy than his attacks on mail-in voting during a pandemic. Okay, here's the truth. Donald Trump doesn't want any of us to vote because he knows
her real voice is nothing like Trump's.
So whether you plan to vote by mail or in person wearing your mask, it is your vote and it's your right. Don't let Donald Trump take that away from you. For accurate, up-to-date voting information that you can trust, text VOTE to 30330. One more time, text VOTE to 30330.
I'm Alex Padilla, California Secretary of State.
And I'm Jocelyn Benson.
So that was actually, this must be a video because it was actually on pause when they first went to it, which was really weird. Jordan Singer says Obamagate needs to be on the bingo card, maybe even as the free space. Yeah, I'm looking at doing an RNC bingo card. Feel free to email me through my website contact form with your suggestions for what should be on that bingo card. Julian Bennison says, watching from Australia, it seems sad to me that the guy with all the policy, Bernie, is not the nominee. DNC not appealing to the progressive left. That's a big topic, and I've dealt with it ad nauseum, so I'm not going to do too much on that today. Mazzy Z says, I'm voting in person. I live in a solid red state, so honestly not really worried about mail-in vote tampering. Haha. Logan Ensley says, Tennessee requires a reason to vote by mail and does not accept fear of COVID as a valid reason. Unfortunately, I'll probably be voting in person. Okay. Jonathan McCartney says, I'm voting from Japan. I've already requested an absentee ballot, but I'm concerned about whether or not it will make it through. My primary vote did not. Yikes. McCoy Boole says, I think he's going to quit before November, don't you? He isn't Trump? I don't think so. I don't think he will. I want to say thank you to Elijah Lutz. Elijah Lutz is new member number 10 today at joinpacman.com, and I do appreciate that. I do have, people are asking about my garden. A lot of people obsessed with the garden. Let me see if I have any new posts up. No, my last Instagram post is a post with a puppy, actually. So if you want to break from the horrible reality of what's going on in the country, on my Instagram, there's a picture of me with a puppy, which some people might like. Steve Button says, I'll be making use of early voting in Maine. We can vote in person at the town office or city hall 30 days before Election Day. That's good news. Chris Stultz says, I just moved to Salt Lake City from New Orleans, and I have to say the voting process is better here. All I needed was my Social Security card to register. Evan D says, new Trafalgar poll, Biden and Trump tied at 47 in Minnesota. That's not good. Sneakers and Streets says, how confident are you about PogChamps? Not confident at all. Jeremy Schwab, as in like Trump has sent out 100 million Schwabs, says, keep on keeping on. Great coverage. Expose lies. I plan to, my friend. I plan to. Okay, let's see what else we've got here.
America. If you were an immigrant back then, come from an immigrant family, the Democrats brought you in. We are in danger of losing the meaning of this country.
Every generation before us has had to fight for what they believe in, and it's just our turn now.
I was so proud when I saw the demonstrations that were going on across the country.
This year's election means a lot to me because I feel like our generation is so motivated right now to make a difference. There's a lot of changes that we have to make, and I'm counting on Joe Biden and I believe in him.
Who's next? Cory Booker.
I'm here because a union job lifted my family out of poverty and into the middle class. My grandfather left the Jim Crow South for Detroit, joined the UAW, and got a job on the assembly lines during World War II. That union job enabled him to support his family, raise my mom, and send her to Fisk University. That's the American dream. Together we work, together we rise. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris know the dignity of all working Americans. They know the urgency and the demand of our dream. But working people are under attack. The wealth gap grows, our middle class shrinks, and poverty persists. Last week, Donald Trump said, and I quote, our economy is doing good. While 40 million Americans are at risk of losing their homes, 30 million aren't getting enough to eat, and 5.4 million people have lost their health care because of this crisis. He has failed us. But still, I believe in the dream of our ancestors. Together with Joe and Kamala in the White House, we'll raise the minimum wage so no one who works a full-time job in America lives in poverty. Together, we'll fight for those who keep us healthy, who keep us safe, who teach our children. We'll stand for those who cook and serve and clean, who plant and harvest, who pack, and always those who deliver, whose hands are thick with calluses, like my granddad's were, who lifted me high, who held mine when I was a boy. If he was alive, Joe and Kamala, he would be so proud of you. And he'd tell us, take another by the hand and another, and let's get to work. This dream ain't free. You gotta work for it. So like his generation, up and out of the Depression, let's now work together and stand together. And America, together, we will rise.
Wow. Nice little speech, I have to say.
This is my team. You guys build America, not Wall Street. Unions build America.
That's right. The Americans just want to live meekly comfortable. I've got a wife that works as well. I've got a 17 and a 7-year-old at home, and And we're still working, thanks to our International Executive Board for getting with General Motors and making sure that it's safe for us to return back to work after 8 weeks of being laid off. I mean, it's a hoax at one point, and now here we are full blown.
Yep. Well, I tell you what, the future of auto workers in America, and I really believe this, can be as bright as it was back in the late 40s, 50s.
Yes.
Simple reason. It's an iconic industry. It's an American industry. We made it. We made it.
Yes. Thank you.
It's been a very interesting 2020. I've been in the fire service 16 years and never experienced anything like COVID. We had to change our whole tactics, the way we did our day-to-day. And now, at a hurricane that just came in 2 weeks ago, and we were almost right on the eye. And I mean, we were doing things we never thought we'd be doing. Water rescues with masks on, having to worry about COVID. It was interesting.
How's your family doing?
Well, I'm a single dad. I have a almost 5-year-old who's in my world. And I'm very lucky that my parents are retired. My mom actually retired.
These conversations are interesting only in that Joe Biden seems to be able to talk to people like a normal person, which is just, Trump can't do that. And it's just a reminder of just how insane the situation currently is.
Online schooling.
Staged or not, Trump can't even do it staged. You understand what I'm saying?
Or double income families, and they're just trying to figure out how they're going to do it with their kids. What arrangements are they going to have to make? Since they're
like Trump would now be saying, yeah, COVID, I mean, the China virus. They didn't have to leave China. It escaped, or they let it out. I don't know. We're looking into that. Some people say one, some people say the other, but, we're pulling out because of it. We're out of the WHO. We're out of the WTO because they got us on trade and health. Health and trade both we got, and we tariff them. These people are paying tariffs, right? And the guy just said COVID's tough. That's all the guy said.
The way middle-class people generate wealth overwhelmingly is building up equity in their home. And that's what gets passed on from one generation to the next, the equity in a home.
The middle class is continuously taking hits. And one of the reasons why we're on this call is we realize how important it is to have you in the White House.
So at this point, Trump would jump in and say, listen, I'm all about the middle class. Obama left the cupboards bare for the middle class. And the blacks did better than... Is that my African American over there? What a guy over there. Everybody's doing great. But then the virus hit. We had to turn it off. But we'll turn it back on and it'll be a V. It'll come right. It's like, whoa, hold on. The guy's just talking about his family.
Solar facility outside of Harrisburg. I'm a Scranton boy. Central Pennsylvania is okay, but, Northeast. So keep the faith, guys.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
American workers can count on you.
All right. Continuing.
I know it's not typical for a former Surgeon General to speak at a convention. Surgeons General are appointed by presidents, but our work isn't about politics. Our highest duty is to the public. Our true guide is science. And our job is to speak the truth about public health, even when it's controversial or perceived as political. So here's the truth. Our nation absolutely has what it takes to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic that's claimed tens of thousands of our loved ones. We have the talent, resources, and technology. What we're missing is leadership. We need a leader who works with states to ensure that everyone who needs a test gets one and gets results quickly. A leader who secures a safe, effective vaccine and distributes it quickly and fairly. A leader who inspires us to practice distancing and wear masks, not as a political statement, but as a patriotic duty, a commitment we make to one another. That's why I'm here tonight, not because of politics or for party, but because I know Joe Biden can be that leader. I've worked with Joe Biden. I've seen who he is with no cameras around, how he sits with people in their pain and holds them in his heart, how he pores over COVID briefings, asking smart questions, letting science guide his way, just as he did when managing the Ebola crisis. And 6 years ago, when Joe Biden met my family, many of them immigrants awed to be in the nation's capital, I saw how he kneeled beside my grandmother's wheelchair, took her hands in his, and said, "Thank you for choosing us, the United States of America as the place to trust with your family. Tonight, as a father, son, and grandson, as a doctor who swore an oath, and as an American who loves my country, I can tell you that Joe Biden is the man I trust to look out for my family and the leader I know will heal this nation.
Nice guy. I like this guy.
Hi, I'm Senator Tammy Baldwin. When I was 9 years old, I got sick, really sick. I was hospitalized, but since my grandparents were the ones raising me and our family's health plan didn't cover grandkids, they were forced to pay out of pocket for my 3-month hospital stay.
That's insane.
I got better, but the insurance companies didn't. They refused to cover me at any cost because I was marked child with a pre-existing condition. We all have stories like this. Stories about a time when the system was rigged against us, when we were counted out, left out, pushed out. Just think of what we've heard these past 4 days. Healthcare professionals who don't have the protective gear they need. Young people whose asthma will get worse as our air quality does. Workers who are afraid of losing their jobs. Each story begs this simple, fundamental question, a question that gets to the heart of the choice in this election. What kind of country do we want to be? Do we want to be a country where millionaires get to dodge taxes, or one where working families get a break? Do we want to be a country where medical bills bury people in debt, or one where health care is affordable for all, or where tens of thousands of people die from a virus, or where the American dream lives? I think we know the answer to that fundamental question, because most of us want the same things. Good schools in our neighborhoods, racial justice, the freedom to love who we want, dignity in our work, and an economy where small businesses and working families thrive. And over the past months, we've added another to that list, a nation free from COVID. That's why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the only answer in this election. Trust me, they are. You see, there's another part of my story, the part where I ran for office, the part where I served in Congress, the part where I worked with Joe Biden and Barack Obama to make sure kids and grandkids, if they're dependents, can stay on their parents' health insurance until they're 26. We got that done. And yes, it was a big effing deal.
Love it.
That's the America I know. That's the America I love. And that's the America we will be with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House. A nation that plans, a nation that builds, a nation that builds back. Say it with me there at home, a nation that builds back better.
We'll look at that soon.
Here in Wisconsin, our state motto is just one word: forward. This November, let's move forward and never look back. Thank you.
Thank you.
No other nation can match us if we step up. We lead by the power of our example, not by the example of our power. The only thing that can tear America apart is America itself, and we cannot let that happen.
If you want to help Joe and Kamala make sure that America stays strong and united, please go to joebiden.com and contribute anything that you possibly can. Tonight, I couldn't be prouder to be a loyal union member, a passionate climate activist, and a patriotic Democrat. Or as Donald Trump will call me in a tweet tomorrow, a washed-up, horse-faced, no-talent has-been with low ratings. Well, with all due respect, sir, it takes one to know one. And now I'd like to introduce you to a real American hero, World War II veteran Ed Goode.
I am Edward Goode. I'm 95 years old. I'm a veteran of World War II and of Korea.
Oh, this is interesting.
When I wear a uniform, I wear only 2 badges, my parachute wings and the combat infantry badge, I did make one combat jump over the Rhine in Germany, and I'm proud of that. I have been a Republican since the 1960s. I'm a member of the NRA, and I voted for Trump. I think Trump has been the worst president we've ever had.
Oh, this should be good.
So I'll be glad to see him go. I think Joe Biden will be a great leader for the United States. Like me, on the day of my jump into Germany, I think Joe Biden cares about doing his proper duty for the United States. And if he's elected, that's what he will do.
Imagine if Trump goes after this guy.
This year's election is very important.
All right, so somebody did send me, Elliot sent me a possible RNC bingo card, which has some funny stuff. Someone brags about the economy pre-COVID, all lives matter. Someone questions Kamala's birthplace. Trump says he's done more than any president other than Abe Lincoln for blacks. Law and order. Someone mentions Reagan. They're coming for your guns. Trump brags about a cognitive test. Melania plagiarizes Michelle Obama. Bush family is mentioned. Trump says mail-in voting will lead to fraud. Someone refers to Benghazi, transition to greatness. Well, how did that just get checked? Oh, the creator must be checking stuff on it. That's funny. Trump says crooked Hillary. Anyway, okay, so we're going to put it together. If you have submissions for a bingo board for next week, you can get them in by email. Bayphoto wants Kamala's name is mispronounced. I think we need that. Guts Griffith says bingo idea whenever these are brought up. BBLM, I immigration wall, N white nationalist talking points going back to Obama. Okay, all right, that's complex. Thanks for listening, says they ganged up on Bernie, so I'll hold my nose and vote Biden just like I did Hillary, already stacking the deck against us. Everybody needs to vote. Crystal Dye says, so grateful that I found you in your streams, and the bonus is that my almost 9-year-old son loves watching you with me and learning about current events. That kid's got upper management written all over him, Crystal. That is fantastic to hear. Let me say thank you to Riley Ingle, who is new member number 11 today. We're shooting for 50, and we're not doing quite so good right now. But you can grab a membership at joinpacman.com. And remember, we are also embroiled in a battle to 1 million YouTube subscribers. So if you're one of the beautiful nearly 6,000 people watching on YouTube, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, thanks to Utopian Gamer, who has subscribed with Twitch Prime and says, appreciate you. The Price of Dreams says, David, you got to really lean into your what would Trump say. You nail him. Thank you for your hard work. Really enjoy your take on things. Thank you. And Jamie says Trump's response to everything is reactive, not proactive. That's why he's incompetent. Anyone who takes him seriously is also incompetent. And Cyrus Palmer says, loving the Trump impersonations. Will Fava wants producer Pat merch. There's an idea. M.R. Howard says, what do you think about ranked choice voting being on the ballot in Massachusetts? That's great. Also, just subscribe to your channel for the 4th time, #bots. Yeah, we're using elements of bots. Jonathan Brown, bingo idea, Ted Cruz eats a booger. Yeah, that has happened, right? I think that should probably be on there. I think that's a good idea. And then Shannon Bennis says, bingo idea, Laura Ingraham eats a kitten. That I've never seen. Shady Flake says, we put in the public option because no one wanted to man up and ban all private insurance for Medicare for all. Yeah, I've talked about this before. You don't need to ban private insurance to do Medicare for all. If Medicare for all is really good, people will just step away from private insurance. You don't have to worry about it. And I think legally it would be very difficult to ban private insurance. Just have an alternative that's so much better that people say, I don't need the private insurance. Thanks to NATO Jenkins for gifting 5 subscriptions on Twitch and Detatrin for subscribing with Prime. We're actually 11 Twitch subs from 1,400, which is a nice round number. Linda Hurd and Mads Zink have grabbed YouTube subscriptions both at the beta level, and remember that to avoid confusion, the only things that count up here towards 50 are website memberships at joinpacman.com And patrons, here's Senator Tammy Duckworth.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Duckworth. When I first enlisted in the Army, I was eager to serve my country, yet anxious whether I'd be able to earn my way into the ranks. But I earned my wings and later commanded my own air assault unit, learning that serving and leading in the military is both a privilege and a sacrifice. To be a commander, you must always put your troops first, because one day you may order them to sacrifice everything for our great nation. To do that, leaders must command their troops respect and be worthy of their pledge to protect and defend our Constitution no matter the cost. But military service doesn't just take sacrifice from those in uniform. It's required from their families too. My husband Brian was the one who rushed to Walter Reed after I was wounded in Iraq. He was the one holding my hand, waiting for me to wake up. And when I finally did, he was my rock, getting me through those hours, weeks, months of unspeakable pain and unending surgeries. He was my anchor as I relearned to walk, helping me through every step and every stumble. Our military spouses hold their families together, praying for their loved ones' safety wherever they're deployed and serving as caregivers to our disabled service members, and then picking up the pieces and starting again whenever the next tour or the next war arises. Joe Biden understands these sacrifices because he's made them himself. When his son Beau deployed to Iraq, his burden was also shouldered by his family. Joe knows the fear military families live because he's felt that dread of never knowing if your deployed loved one is safe. He understands their bravery because he has had to muster that same strength every hour of every day Beau was overseas. That's the kind of leader our service members deserve, one who understands the risks they face and who would actually protect them by doing his job as commander-in-chief. Instead, they have a coward-in-chief who won't stand up to Vladimir Putin, read his daily intelligence briefings, or even publicly admonish adversaries for reportedly putting bounties on our troops' heads. As president, Joe Biden would never let tyrants manipulate him like a puppet. He would never pervert our military to stroke his own ego. He would never turn his back on our troops or threaten them against Americans peacefully exercising their constitutional rights. Joe Biden would stand up for what's right, stand tall for our troops, and stand strong against our enemies. Because unlike Trump, Joe Biden has common decency. He has common sense. He can command, both from experience and from strength. Donald Trump doesn't deserve to call himself commander-in-chief for another 4 minutes, let alone another 4 years.
Nice.
Our troops deserve better. Our country deserves better. If you agree, text MORE to 30330 to elect Joe Biden, a leader who actually cares enough about America to lead.
Meanwhile, Trump's Vietnam was avoiding STDs. So there's that.
I'm Beau Biden, and Joe Biden is my dad.
Some voices are never silenced. Some work never ceases to change lives. Some people never stop inspiring, even after they're gone. Beau Biden was a husband, father, brother, son, soldier, attorney general. He was given just 46 years on this earth.
He did in 46 years what most of us couldn't do in 146. Think about the day that dawns for children who are safer because of Beau, whose lives are fuller because of him. Think about the day that dawns for parents who rest easier and families who are freer because of him. Some folks may never know that their lives are better because of Beau Biden, but that's okay. Certainly for Beau, acclaim was never the point of public service.
If you knew Beau, you knew he lived by the strictest code of honor, duty, service, country. You never had to ask if he would do something the right way. He didn't know any other way.
Beau didn't cut corners. He turned down an appointment to be Delaware's Attorney General so he could win it fair and square. When the field was clear for him to run for the Senate, he chose to finish his job as AG instead. After 9/11, he joined the National Guard. He felt it was his obligation. He did his duty to his country and deployed to Iraq.
Beau Biden served his country in battle. He prosecuted one of the worst child predators in American history. And even though he is no longer with us, every day he still inspires the next president of the United States.
It won't be possible for me to be here this fall, so I have something to ask of you. Be there for my dad, like he was for me.
Wow.
A couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was absolutely terrified. One of the first people who called me was Joe. His real warmth and kindness on that call, man, I gotta say, it made me cry. Our current president has made me cry too, but it's never had anything to do with his warmth or kindness. Joe Biden's empathy is genuine. You can feel it. That's why President Obama asked Joe to head up the cancer moonshot. President Obama knows what we all know. Joe Biden understands suffering and loss and sacrifice. Mayor Pete Buttigieg also knows something about sacrifice. He volunteered and was deployed to Afghanistan, then returned home to Indiana to become a highly effective public servant. Say hi to Mayor Pete.
Pete Buttigieg coming up next.
Good evening. Beau Biden lived a life of service, in office and in uniform. When you put your life on the line for this country, you do it not because it's the country you live in, but because it's a country you believe in. I believe in this country because America, uniquely, holds the promise of a place where everyone can belong. We know that for too many and for too long, that promise has been denied. But we also know America is at its best when we make that circle of belonging wider. Just over 10 years ago, I joined a military where firing me because of who I am wasn't just possible, it was policy. Now, in 2020, it is unlawful in America to fire someone because of who they are or who they love. The very ring on my finger, a wedding we celebrated, here where I'm standing, reflects how this country can change. Love makes my marriage real, but political courage made it possible, including that of Joe Biden, who stepped out ahead even of this party when he said that marriage equality ought to be the law of the land. There is a long way to go, but if this much can change between 2010 and 2020, imagine what could change between now in 2030. Imagine what we could achieve, this coalition we are building this very season, gathering progressives and moderates, independents, and even what I like to call future former Republicans, standing for an America where everyone belongs. Joe Biden is right. This is a contest for the soul of the nation. And to me, that contest is not between good Americans and evil Americans. It's the struggle to call out what is good in every American. It's up to us. Will America be a place where faith is about healing and not exclusion? Can we become a country that lives up to the truth that Black lives matter? Will we handle questions of science and medicine by turning to scientists and doctors?
Good idea.
Will we see to it that no one who works full-time can live in poverty?
There's a thought.
I trust Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to guide us toward that better future because I've seen up close their empathy and their capacity. Just as I've seen my fellow Americans' capacity to support and include one another in new ways and do better by the promise of America. The day I was born, the idea of an out candidate seeking any federal office at all was laughable. Yet earlier this year, I campaigned for the presidency, often with my husband Chasten at my side, winning delegates to this very convention. Now I come to this convention proudly supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, joining fellow Democrats who were squaring off in competition just a few months ago. a number of us recently got together to talk about the Joe we know.
Hi, I'm Cory Booker. Welcome to everybody at home. I am very excited to present to you a group of people that ran in the 2020 Democratic primary against Joe Biden. You can think of this sort of...
Okay, we're going to hold off until the next thing because I do want to answer questions and say thanks to people. Ms. Chris Descending, Fractal Division, Optimism, and Motorman have subscribed with Twitch Prime, which I really appreciate. Lefty Lebowski asks, the wife thinks watching the RNC will cause IBS. Is that fake news? I would be prepared for every eventuality when it comes to the RNC. I think it's going to be sick. All right, people want to hear Bernie. Let's listen.
At night, when I was giving one of those floor speeches, and Cory, you know what this is like, no one was there. No one was watching. I was all alone, and I gave my speech with much vigor to a completely empty chamber. And I walked out of there, and I thought, I wonder if my mom was even watching this on C-SPAN. And at that moment, the cell phone rings, and I actually thought maybe my mom was watching it on C-SPAN. And you know who it was? It was Joe Biden. And that kind of goes to not only his kindness for calling me and being a mentor, but it also goes to how much he cares about our government and what people are saying, and that even when he's at home at night, he's watching and he cares.
But Amy, we all want to know, did your mother watch the speech?
I know.
You remember the steak fry when we were waiting to go on? It worked out to where I was there the same time he was. And he pulled me aside at one point and he pointed to somebody who we both knew who was working on my campaign, but he'd known from before. And let me know that was somebody who'd gone through a family tragedy that Joe somehow knew about. And just thought it was important for me to know that about someone who was working with me. And I thought, over time I realized that was just basic to who he is, but that always stuck with me.
Elizabeth, do you have any remembrances as well?
I think the day I saw Joe the clearest was on the 1-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. And everyone, of course, was enormously honored to have the vice president here. But at some point in that speech, he shifted to the parent who had lost a child, to the man who had lost a wife, to someone who had experienced loss very personally. And he spoke to each of the families from the heart.
That's phenomenal. I want to ask, what gets you excited about this idea of the inclusion of big ideas from all over the party into the future, into the next administration?
The magic of Joe Biden is that everything he does becomes the new reasonable. If he comes with an ambitious plan to address climate change, all of a sudden, everyone's going to follow his lead. You can see it with him choosing Kamala, too. He wants to build the best team. Let's do it together. That's how we're going to rebuild this country.
Where's
Cory,
Tulsi?
I'm so optimistic about our country right now, despite some very dark days for a lot of our fellow Americans, in large part because of what young people are doing right now. After the murder of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, young people, by and large, led these protests, and they did so in the absolute best traditions of this country, in the tradition of John Lewis. My optimism and my faith in this country is reflected in those young people and the way that Joe and Kamala are listening to them and incorporating their ideas and their urgency into the campaign that they're running and the administration that they're going to lead.
And I often think some people who say they don't know if they're going to vote or not are saying that from a point of privilege that a lot of Americans don't have. There are so many things for lots of folks who live life on the margins that this election is going to decide. And maybe it's not a life or death issue for you.
Right.
But we are all in this together.
Well
Absolutely.
said.
Cory, what I would say is that this is clearly the most important election in the modern history of this country. And Joe Biden, you have a human being who is empathetic, who is honest, who is decent. And at this particular moment in American history, my God, that is something that this country absolutely needs.
Right.
And all of us, whether you're progressives, whether you're moderates or conservatives, have got to come together to defeat this president.
Together.
Thanks for that, Bernie. I want to thank you all for joining us for this segment.
Thank you.
I mean this sincerely. It was an honor to run against you. And it is even a greater honor to stand with you in support of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Oh boy, Mike Bloomberg.
Good evening.
Minnie.
I've never been much for partisan politics. I've supported Democrats, Republicans, and independents.
That Brighton accent.
Hell, I've actually been a Democrat, Republican, and independent. All about people.
Oh boy.
And the two people running for president couldn't be more different. One believes in facts, one does not.
Right.
One listens to experts, the other thinks he knows everything.
True.
One looks forward and sees strength in America's diversity. The other looks backwards and sees immigrants as enemies and white supremacists as allies.
Yes.
Here's another difference. One has proven he knows how to handle a crisis by helping to lead the economic turnaround after the 2008 recession, while the other has not only failed to lead, he has made the current crisis much worse.
Also bleach injections.
When confronted with the biggest calamity any president has faced in the modern era, Donald Trump spent the year downplaying the threat, ignoring science, and recommending quack cures, which let COVID-19 spread much faster than it should have, leaving hundreds of thousands needlessly sick or dead. He has failed the American people catastrophically. 4 years ago, I came before this very convention and said, New Yorkers know a con when we see one. But tonight, I'm not asking you to vote against Donald Trump because he's a bad guy. I'm urging you to vote against him because he's done a bad job.
Right.
Today, unemployment is at historic highs, and small businesses are struggling just to survive.
Remember when Warren quoted him calling women horse-faced, allegedly?
When I ran for mayor, I spent 20 years running a business I started from scratch. So I want to ask small business owners and their employees one question, and it's a question for everyone. Would you rehire or work for someone who ran your business into the ground and who always does what's best for him or her, even when it hurts the company, and whose reckless decisions put you in danger, and who spends more time tweeting than working? If the answer is no, why the hell would we ever rehire Donald Trump for another 4 years?
Right.
Trump says we should vote for him because he's a great businessman? Really? He drove his companies into bankruptcy 6 times, always leaving behind customers.
I like this because Trump's so triggered that Bloomberg's way richer than him.
Business with him. Well, this time, all of us are paying the price, and we can't let him get away with it again. Donald says we should vote for him because the economy was great before the virus. Huh? Biden and Obama created more jobs over their last 3 years than the Trump administration did over their first 3. And economic growth was higher under Biden and Obama than under Trump. In fact, while Biden helped save 1 million auto industry jobs, Trump has lost 250,000 manufacturing jobs. So when Trump says he wants to make America great again, he's making a pretty good case for Joe Biden.
Right.
Look, our goal shouldn't be to bring back the pandemic economy. It should be, as Joe says, to build it back better. Joe's economic plan will create clean energy jobs that help fight another crisis that Trump is ignoring, climate change. And Joe will rebuild our crumbling roads and bridges, something Trump has incessantly talked about doing. But in the last 3.5 years, he hasn't done anything. What a joke. And let me tell you a little secret. Donald Trump's economic plan was to give a huge tax cut to guys like me who didn't need it, and then lie about it to everyone else. Well, Joe will roll back that tax cut that I got so we can fund things our whole country needs, like training for adults who have lost jobs, and making college more affordable, and investing in American research and development so that the products of tomorrow are made today by American workers. You know, growing up, I was taught to believe that America is the greatest country in the world, not because we won the Second World War, but because of why we fought it, for freedom, democracy, and equality. My favorite childhood book was called Johnny Tremaine, about a Boston boy who joins the Sons of Liberty at the dawn of the American Revolution. At the end of the book, Johnny stands on Lexington Commons and sees a nation that is, quote, green with spring, dreaming of the future. That's the America I know and love. And that's the America we are in danger of losing under this president. So let's put an end to this whole sorry chapter in American history and elect leaders who will bring integrity and stability, sanity, and competence back to the White House. Joe and Kamala, go get them for all of us.
Right. There's Mike Bloomberg.
We can help you find the best and safest way to vote in your state. Simply text.
By the way, here is my favorite Bloomberg moment from the campaign. Remember this, guys?
For another 4 years, and we can't stand that.
So I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg.
It's just as good today. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. It's just perfect. It's perfect. Wow. Okay. Thanks to the Italian Stallion, that one's so good, who has subscribed with Prime, and WRB Farley has subscribed as well. I also want to say thank you to Leslie Yellowhammer, who is new member number 12. William Tate is number 13. Seth Lichtenstein is number 14. Lisa Newman, number 15. Brian Washburn, number 16. That puts us at 16 website members at joinpacman.com. A lot of super chats coming in. Foos Coach says, do Twitch subs get the bonus show? No, they don't. Ren Holder says, say hi to my wife, Casey. Hi, Casey. Hope you're doing well. Neptune says, I know people are disappointed about Biden, but shouldn't we be thankful Bloomberg wasn't the nominee? It could always be worse. That's a fair point. Sugar Skull says Bernie's the one that creates change in the party. Andrew McMurray says, you did not LOL at that. Be real, David. Mike in West Palm Beach, I guess. I have to say, Bloomy's speech was good. Adam Bellows says, Bloomberg's best work all season. Scott Hack says, how is it that Bloomberg has given the best speech? It really wasn't bad. I don't know that it's the best, but it really was not a bad speech at all. And, you know, whether he should have been there at all is certainly a question. Connor Brenner says, hey, David, have you seen Tim Pool's content in the last 6 months? No. It's as if he's operating in an alternate universe. It's OAN level crap. The size of his following truly frightens me. Worth a show. Yeah, I just don't know. I'm too busy. Rot Kreutz says, can you say hi to my wife, Brittany? Yes, Brittany Kreutz. Hope you're doing well. Ego Productions has also subscribed at the soy boy level. And Sovi Pujols is new member number 17 today. Oh, let's hear from the good rabbi. I'm interested now.
Shiva, and towards the end of the service, the door opens up, and this person who was much younger,
Mod's on alert, by the way,
octogenarians who were there, walked in the room. It was our U.S. Senator Joe Biden. He was just very respectful, and he stayed in the back, and his head was bowed in reverence. And at the end, I said, Senator Biden, why are you here? Because how does a nice Irish Catholic boy know from Shiva? And what he said was just so lovely. He said, this dear lady gave $18 to my campaign from the very first time I started in 1972. So he wanted to show his respects by saying thank you. And that just blew me away.
All right, a beautiful message of peace and love from the rabbi. Great to hear. Other messages coming in. Chef's Pawn says the best part was that Wikipedia said he died that night because of Warren. Okay, people demanding to hear from the granddaughters. Okay.
He's always eating ice cream. Usually it's like vanilla with chocolate
vanilla.
With chocolate sprinkles. Vanilla
By the way,
on a regular.
Vanilla is a waste of an ice cream flavor. It's like nothing. You know, I could give you 20 flavors better than vanilla.
He likes ice cream in hidden ways.
Yeah. Eating it like in the freezer so that
he eats
my
it
grandma
facing
doesn't
the freezer.
see. He like hides it.
How often does he call you?
Like every day.
Yeah, every day.
Like if we don't talk to him for like a day,
He'll ask what's wrong.
Yeah,
He'll think we're like, not a lot.
He always calls with the same energy, even after he's just done 15 interviews in a row. Hi, Pop. I was just talking about you.
I don't necessarily pick up every day, but I have a lot of voicemails. He will pick up our calls no matter where he is. He'd be like on stage giving a speech, and we'd call him and he'd be like, what's wrong? Is everything good? And we'd be like,
just
no.
calling to check in.
Yeah.
What does the word family mean to you?
It's a lot of time together. It's like
I don't
we've
really know many of
grown
them.
up together. He's made sure that every single tradition, every holiday, we're all together. I don't think that there's been any decision, no matter how big or small, that we haven't decided as a family.
Pop told us that this election would be totally different from any other election ever.
He was worried how it would affect his kids.
Whether or not we wanted to go through another campaign and be scrutinized by the press.
There had been talks of a big meeting coming.
It's normally called by the parents, I would say, but this time it was called by me. I came down from Penn, and Maisie came up from DC, and my cousins lived down the road. He thought we were calling a meeting sort of to like discuss, whether or not we wanted him to, but really we were calling it to be like, get in that race, hurry up.
We just knew that he had to run, and we weren't gonna take no as an answer.
At the end of the day, I think we're all very happy we had that meeting.
All right, well, when you get back there, give me a call to tell me how the whole thing went, okay?
Okay, I will.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.
We want to ensure that our kids live in a nation that is safe, happy, healthy, and fair.
All right, so building up now towards Joe Biden's speech, likely just minutes away. Yeah, listen, guys, vanilla as a flavor, it's not flavor. It's just the base, right? I mean, think of, pistachio, double chocolate, chocolate chunk, chocolate chip, mint chocolate chip, black raspberry, cookie dough, mango, okay? Sorbets. You understand what's going on here, right? I mean, it's like, this is crazy. Coffee ice cream. Yes, exactly. Okay, please. Oh my God, everybody canceled their memberships. I should never mention ice cream again. Okay. Stephen Coast says Bloomberg can't even read properly. He believes not a word he says in that speech. He's desperate for relevance. Wipipo Jefe says, I'm voting in person to take off a little stress from the post office. P.S. Black Lives Matter. Allison Tomsky sends a super chat. Ruben Gonzalez says, David, say hi to my wife, Lily Meraz, in Spanish. Hola, and tell her to drop her cell phone and pay attention. All in Spanish, TNX, LOL. Oh my, I don't know anything about that, but hola, Lily. Dave Pratt. You not liking vanilla is the least sensible thing I've ever heard you say, and I spent $5 to make sure you knew that. And Dave Gardner says, what does America have that Canada does not? Good neighbors. Please don't let the sweaty, incoherent mango in chief win. Then you will be good neighbors. And on that note, some great neighbors for us on the stream. Michael Phillips today is new member number 18, and Stephen Carter is new member number 19. Let's see what the Currys have to say.
You knew that Joe Biden was going to have a woman as his vice president.
Surprised and happy.
Why?
There's not a lot of women being president and helping alongside the president.
Mm-hmm. How important do you think your faith is in the way that you live your life?
Really big, because I'm grateful for all the things that I have and that I love my family.
And with that said, everyone, we really thank you, one, for listening to this very candid conversation with our daughters. And we just want to encourage you to truly do your research, think about your own homes and what you'd like to see projected out into the world in the right direction is making sure that you vote this election for Biden. Whatever you do, please vote.
Right.
Every vote counts. Just remember that. You gonna dance out?
Okay.
Here's the big question. How much of your time and energy are you willing to devote to elect Joe Biden? Here's my answer. I'm going all in. Look, elections can break your heart, but sometimes they can make you sing from the mountaintops. And this year, we're gonna sing. This year, we're going to elect a president who's honest, experienced, and intelligent. A president who actually believes in the rule of law, who will restore dignity and normalcy to the White House and the soul of this nation. And boy, won't that be something. One of my favorite things Joe Biden says is that you can succeed in life without sacrificing your ideals or your commitment to family.
I think we're building here.
Who better to introduce our nominee, Joe Biden, than his children?
I'm Hunter Biden.
And I'm Ashley Biden.
Joe Biden is our dad.
And Beau is our brother.
We want to tell you what kind of president our dad will be.
He will be tough.
And honest.
Caring and principled.
He'll listen. He'll be there when you need him.
He'll tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it.
He'll never let you down.
He'll be rock steady.
The strongest shoulder you can ever lean on.
He'll beam with pride every time you succeed.
He'll make your grandkids feel that what they've got to say matters.
He'll treat everyone with respect, no matter who you are.
He'll get up no matter how many times he's been knocked down.
He'll be the worst enemy any bully ever saw.
He'll be the best friend you've ever had.
He'll love you with all of his heart.
And if you give him your cell phone number,
he's going to call it.
How do we know?
Because he's been that way our whole lives.
He's been a great father.
And we think he'll be a great president.
Beau isn't with us any longer.
But he is still very much alive in our hearts. And we can still hear his strong voice.
Just like it was yesterday.
Just like it was yesterday.
In 2008 and 2012, he introduced our dad at those conventions.
And if he was here, we're pretty sure we'd know what he'd say.
So before we show you a film about our dad's journey, we wanted to give Beau the last word. Beau?
Beau, take it away.
In moments both public and private, he's the father I've always known, the grandfather my children love and adore, my father, my hero, Joe Biden.
Our lives have been turned upside down, shattered and shaken. But the American story has had moments like this before. And he was there, answering the call.
When we came into office in 2009, we were going through what was then the worst financial and economic crisis since the Great Depression.
The economy was hemorrhaging hundreds of thousands of jobs a week. People were losing their homes to foreclosure. The financial system was in tatters. Auto sales had dropped to near zero levels.
The auto companies faced bankruptcy, and many said, let them fail. But Joe remembered his father and what it meant to lose a job. The Finnegans and Bidens were Irish Catholic. Joe was their first. And then his sister Valerie.
From the moment I opened my eyes, my big brother was there. The thing that was most important was family and family and family.
As the post-war boom faded, Joe's father struggled to find work in Scranton. But 140 miles south, there was a job cleaning boilers in Wilmington.
There was a long stairway up to the second floor. Dad went up to Joey in our bedroom and saying, Joey, you gotta be a big boy.
For the first time, Joe saw the heavy burden on a father, and it was a lesson he would never forget.
The job is a lot more than a paycheck. It's about dignity.
The country was losing tens of thousands of jobs a day, and they needed 3 votes to pass the economic rescue package.
Joe Biden was handled the task of going to get those 3 Republican votes.
Joe returned to the place where he had been so effective.
Passionate argument, sympathetic listening, a willingness to make adjustments and accommodations to bring people on board.
When the law finally passed, the president tapped his partner to run the program. Joe tracked every dollar, calling mayors and governors.
Talking to them on the phone, one-on-one. He gave all of them his cell phone.
And I watched him bring his heart to that job. It matters that you have in your mind the family that you're trying to reach, the neighborhood that you're trying to reach, the people whose lives are affected by what you do.
The skills that had made him so effective had not come easy. When he entered school, there was a problem. Joe had a stutter.
And it's mortifying. It allows that child to become an object of ridicule.
When his teacher mimicked him and Joe ran home from school, his mother drove him back.
Did you say to my son, Mr. Biden? The nun said, I was just trying to make a point. My mother stood up, all 5'2" of her. If you ever talk to my son like that again, I'll come back and rip that damn bonnet off your head. Do you understand me? Joey, go back to class.
Joe resolved to overcome his stutter.
Some letters are harder than others. And I used to get up at night and go stand in front of the mirror with a flashlight and practice. She'd make me look her in the eye. Look at me. Remember, Joey, you're the smartest boy in that class. Nobody's better than you, Joey. From having to deal with stuttering, it gave me insight into other people's pain, other people's suffering.
At 19, Joe sought out a summer job that few of his peers considered taking.
He was a lifeguard along with the black lifeguards. That's when I first seen Joe, and we became friends.
It was one of the best things I've ever done because it gave me a sense that we really didn't know one another.
After Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, riots broke out in Wilmington, and the National Guard stayed for almost a year.
I quit the law firm and asked for a job to become a public defender. That's what sort of got me involved in politics.
J. Caleb Boggs was a popular war hero in a solidly Republican state, and few took Joe's campaign seriously.
In Delaware, the Democratic Party was non-functional. When it got time to put up a candidate, they didn't want to touch it. This young upstart, Joe Biden, who had a lot of ideas and no money, no influence, the party said, okay, well then go ahead, Biden, give it a whirl.
That's all I can ask. Just look, if you like what you see, help me out. If not, vote for the other fellow. But look me over if you would.
You know, we'd have a coffee and we'd come out of that, we'd have 5 more coffees. He was very articulate on the issues. He brought people to say, not just that, well, I agree with what you're doing, is, you know, what can I do to help?
Delaware is the first state. J. Caleb Boggs, who is the incumbent Republican, being challenged by Joseph Biden. Biden is a Democrat who's 29 years of age.
But exhilaration soon turned to tragedy.
I mean, it was clear he had decided that I'm not going to be a senator, that the boys need me too much.
I was prepared to walk away in 1973. But men like Ted Kennedy and Mike Mansfield and Hubert Humphrey and Fritz Hollings, Danny Inouye, they convinced me to stay. Just stay 6 months, Joe. Remember, Danny? Just stay 6 months.
He couldn't allow the suffering to debilitate him. Just like he couldn't allow the stuttering to define him. That's the backbone. There's something bigger than Joe's suffering.
The Senate turned out to be a wonderful place for him. He had a real gift for bringing people together.
The three of them had a bond that was forged in sorrow and expanded into joy when Jill entered.
They had built this beautiful family, this circle of trust.
And then the extra gift of Ashley.
Growing up, it was full of adventure, laughter.
We do everything as a family, and we've always done everything as a family.
He was always a good, loving father. I mean, there's nothing more important to Joe than his children.
It's hard to explain how ever-present he was in our lives. You don't have to guess what my dad believes. A great benefit of being my father is that he doesn't have to contort himself into different people at different times.
Bo was going to do fine things. I mean, he had it all. And then he got sick. The whole world tilted. And it felt like we were all falling off.
Once again, Joe faced the unimaginable.
My mother, she said, bravery resides in every heart, and someday it will be summoned.
The way he survived losing my mom and my sister, and then losing my brother, is understanding that you have to have purpose.
Every day I get up, I ask myself, I hope he's proud of me, because that's that makes me move on.
From his time in the Senate and then the White House, Joe always found a way forward, forging unlikely friendships and alliances. And time after time, he made progress possible, and always holding in his heart the struggles of his family and every family, always fighting to make his country whole.
It's a very rare quality to bring your empathy skills to the process of governing. Joe Biden never forgets that that's the point of moving the wheels of government.
He will keep his word. He will reach out and hear what other people have to say.
To have somebody who believes in what's best in us, somebody like Joe Biden who actually believes in the American idea, that's the kind of person who I want in the White House.
Here we go.
Good evening. Ella Baker, a giant of the civil rights movement, left us with this wisdom: give people light, and they will find the way. Give people light. Those are words for our time. The current president has cloaked American darkness for much too long. Too much anger, too much fear, too much division. Here and now, I give you my word. If you entrust me with the presidency, I will draw on the best of us, not the worst. I will be an ally of the light, not the darkness. It's time for us, for we the people, to come together. And make no mistake, united we can and will overcome this season of darkness in America. We'll choose hope over fear, facts over fiction, fairness over privilege. I'm a proud Democrat, and I'll be proud to carry the banner of our party into the general election. So it's with great honor and humility, I accept this nomination for President of the United States of America. But while I'll be a Democratic candidate, I will be an American president. I'll work hard for those who didn't support me, as hard for them as I did for those who did vote for me. That's the job of a president, to represent all of us, not just our base or our party. This is not a partisan moment. This must be an American moment. It's a moment that calls for hope and light and love, hope for our future, light to see our way forward, and love for one another. America isn't just a collection of clashing interests of red states or blue states.
We're so much bigger than that. We're so much better than that. You know, nearly a century ago, Franklin Roosevelt pledged a New Deal in a time of massive unemployment, uncertainty, and fear. Stricken by a disease, stricken by a virus, FDR insisted that he would recover and prevail, and he believed America could as well. And he did, and we can as well. This campaign isn't just about winning votes. It's about winning the heart and, yes, the soul of America. Winning it for the generous among us, not the selfish. Winning it for workers who keep this country going, not just the privileged few at the top. Winning it for those communities who have known the injustice of a knee on the neck. For all the young people who have known only America being rising inequity and shrinking opportunity, they deserve the experience of America's promise. They deserve to experience it in full. You know, no generation ever knows what history will ask of it. All we can ever know is whether we're ready when that moment arrives. And now history has delivered us to one of the most difficult moments America's ever faced. Four historic crises, all at the same time. A perfect storm. The worst pandemic in over 100 years. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The most compelling call for racial justice since the 60s. And the undeniable realities and just the accelerating threats of climate change. So the question for us is simple. Are we ready? I believe we are. We must be. You know, all elections are important. But we know in our bones this one is more consequential. As many have said, America is at an inflection point. A time of real peril, but also of extraordinary possibilities. We can choose a path of becoming angrier, less hopeful, more divided, a path of shadow and suspicion, or we can choose a different path and together take this chance to heal, to reform, to unite, a path of hope and light. This is a life-changing election. This will determine what America is going to look like for a long, long time. Character is on the ballot. Compassion is on the ballot. Decency, science, democracy, they're all on the ballot. Who we are as a nation, what we stand for, and most importantly, who we want to be, that's all on the ballot. And the choice could not be more clear. No rhetoric is needed. Just judge this president on the facts. 5 million Americans infected by COVID-19. More than 170,000 Americans have died. By far the worst performance of any nation on earth. More than 50 million people have filed for unemployment this year. More than 10 million people are going to lose their health insurance this year. Nearly 1 in 6 small businesses have closed this year. And this president, if he's reelected, you know what will happen. Cases and deaths will remain far too high. More mom and pop businesses will close their doors, and this time for good.
All true.
Working families will struggle to get by. And yet the wealthiest 1% will get tens of billions of dollars in new tax breaks. And the assault on the Affordable Care Act will continue until it's destroyed, taking insurance away from more than 20 million people, including more than 15 million people on Medicaid, and getting rid of the protections that President Obama worked so hard to get passed for people who have 100 million more people who have pre-existing conditions. And speaking of President Obama, a man I was honored to serve alongside for 8 years as vice president, let me take this moment to say something we don't say nearly enough. Thank you, Mr. President. You were a great president, a president our children could and did look up to. No one's going to say that about the current occupant of the White House. What we know about this president is if he's given 4 more years, he'll be what he's been for the last 4 years.
Worse.
A president who takes no responsibility, refuses to lead, blames others,
cozies up to dictators, and fans the flames of hate and division. He'll wake up every day believing the job is all about him, never about you. Is that the American you want for you, your family, your children? I see a different America, one that's generous and strong, selfless and humble. It's an America we can rebuild together. As president, the first step I will take will be to get control of the virus that has ruined so many lives. Because I understand something this president hasn't from the beginning.
Going into policy now?
We will never get our economy back on track. We will never get our kids safely back in schools. We'll never have our lives back until we deal with this virus. The tragedy of where we are today is it didn't have to be this bad. Just look around. It's not this bad in Canada or Europe or Japan or almost anywhere else in the world.
True.
And the president keeps telling us the virus is going to disappear. He keeps waiting for a miracle. Well, I have news for him. No miracle is coming. We lead the world in confirmed cases. We lead the world in deaths. Our economy is in tatters with Black, Latino, Asian American, Native American communities bearing the brunt of it. And after all this time, the president still does not have a plan. Well, I do. If I'm your president, on day one, we'll implement the national strategy I've been laying out since March. We'll develop and deploy rapid tests with results available immediately. We'll make the medical supplies and protective equipment that our country needs. And we'll make them here in America, so we will never again be at the mercy of China or other foreign countries in order to protect our own people. We'll make sure our schools have the resources they need to be open, safe, and effective. We'll put politics aside. We'll take the muzzle off our experts so the public gets the information they need and deserve. Honest, unvarnished truth. They can handle it. We'll have a national mandate to wear masks, not as a burden, but as a patriotic duty to protect one another.
Uh-oh, people are going to be triggered by that.
In short, we'll do what we should have done from the very beginning. Our current president has failed in his most basic duty to the nation.
This is a good approach because coronavirus ranks as the most important issue for voters, and it's one of Trump's lowest in terms of approval.
That is unforgivable. As president, I'll make you a promise. I'll protect America. I will defend us from every attack, seen and unseen, always, without exception, every time. Look, I understand. I understand how hard it is to have any hope right now. On this summer night, let me take a moment to speak to those of you who have lost the most. I have some idea how it feels to lose someone you love. I know that deep black hole that opens up in the middle of your chest and you feel like you're being sucked into it. I know how mean and cruel and unfair life can be sometimes. But I've learned two things. First, your loved one may have left this earth, but they'll never leave your heart. They'll always be with you. You'll always hear them. And second, I found the best way through pain and loss and grief is to find purpose. As God's children, each of us have a purpose in our lives. We have a great purpose as a nation to open the doors of opportunity to all Americans, to save our democracy, to be a light to the world once again, and finally to live up to and make real the words written in the sacred documents that founded this nation, that all men and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know, my dad was an honorable, decent man. He got knocked down a few times pretty hard.
Trumpists hoping for an implosion are very, very upset right now.
And he built a great middle-class life for our family. He used to say, Joey, I don't expect the government to solve my problems, but I sure in hell expect them to understand them. And then he'd say, Joey, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's gonna be okay, and mean it. I've never forgotten those lessons. That's why my economic plan is all about jobs, dignity, respect, and community. Together we can and will rebuild our economy. And when we do, we'll not only build back, we'll build back better. With modern roads, bridges, highways, broadband, ports and airports as a new foundation for economic growth, with pipes that transport clean water to every community, with 5 million new manufacturing and technology jobs, so the future is made in America.
Talking about water, not about the fact that his toilet won't flush, which is the way Trump talks about water.
Crisis. By building on the Affordable Care Act, he's trying to rip away. With an education system that trains our people for the best jobs of the 21st century. There's not a single thing American workers can't do. And where cost doesn't prevent young people from going to college, and student debt doesn't crush them when they get out. With the child care and elder care system that makes it possible for parents to go to work and for the elderly to stay in their homes with dignity. With an immigration system that powers our economy and reflects our values. And with newly empowered labor unions. They're the ones that built the middle class. With equal pay for women, with rising wages, you can raise a child on, a family on. And yes, we're going to do more than praise our essential workers. We're finally going to pay them, pay them. We can and we will deal with climate change. It's not only a crisis, it's an enormous opportunity. An opportunity for America to lead the world in clean energy and create millions of new, good-paying jobs in the process. And we can pay for these investments by ending loopholes, unnecessary loopholes, and the president's $1.3 trillion tax giveaway to the wealthiest 1% and the biggest, most profitable corporations, some of which do not pay any tax at all. Because we don't need a tax code that rewards wealth more than it rewards work. I'm not looking to punish anyone. Far from it. But it's long past time the wealthiest people and the biggest corporations in this country paid their fair share. And for our seniors, Social Security is a sacred obligation, a sacred promise made, they paid for. The current president is threatening to break that promise. He's proposing to eliminate a tax that pays for almost half the Social Security without any way of making up for that lost revenue, resulting in cuts. I will not let that happen. If I'm your president, we're going to protect Social Security and Medicare. You have my word. One of the most powerful voices we hear in the country today is from our young people. They're speaking to the inequity and injustice that has grown up in America. Economic injustice, racial injustice, environmental injustice. I hear their voices. If you listen, you can hear them too. And whether it's the existential threat posed by climate change, the daily fear of being gunned down in school, or the inability to get started in your first job, it will be the work of the next president to restore the promise of America to everyone. And I'm not going to have to do it alone, because I'll have a great vice president at my side. Senator Kamala Harris, she's a powerful voice for this nation. Her story is the American story. She knows about all the obstacles thrown in the way of so many in our country. Women, black Americans, South Asian Americans, immigrants, the left out and the left behind. But she's overcome every obstacle she's ever faced. No one's been tougher on the big banks and the gun lobby. No one's been tougher in calling out the current administration for its extremism It's failure to follow the law. It's failure to simply tell the truth. Kamala and I both draw from our families. That's where we get our strength. For Kamala, it's Doug and their families. For me, it's Jill and ours. I've said many times, no man deserves one great love in his life, let alone two. But I've known two. After losing my first wife in that car accident, Jill came into my life. She put our family back together. She's an educator, a mom, a military mom, and an unstoppable force. If she puts her mind to it, just get out of the way. She's going to get it done. She was a great second lady, and I know she'll make a great first lady for this nation. She loves this country so much. And I'll always have the strength that can only come from family. Hunter, Ashley, all our grandchildren, my brothers, my sister, they give me courage. They lift me up. While he's no longer with us, Bo inspires me every day. Bo served our nation in uniform. A year in Iraq, a decorated Iraqi war veteran. So I take very personally and the profound responsibility of serving as Commander-in-Chief. I'll be a president who will stand with our allies and friends and make it clear to our adversaries the days of cozying up to dictators is over. Under President Biden, America will not turn a blind eye to Russian bounties on the heads of American soldiers.
Beautiful.
Nor will I put up with foreign interference in our most sacred democratic exercise, voting.
Right.
And I'll always stand for our values of human rights and dignity. I'll work in common purpose for a more secure, peaceful, and prosperous world.
I would wrap.
History has thrust one more urgent task on us. Will we be the generation that finally wipes out the stain of racism from our national character? I believe we're up to it. I believe we're ready. Just a week ago yesterday was the 3rd anniversary of the events in Charlottesville. Close your eyes. Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists coming out of fields with lighted torches, veins bulging, spewing the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s.
Sick.
Remember the violent clash that ensued between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it. And remember what the president said when asked? He said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides. It was a wake-up call for us as a country, and for me, a call to action. At that moment, I knew I'd have to run, because my father taught us that silence was complicity, and I could never remain silent or complicit. At the time, I said we were in the battle for the soul of this nation. And we are. You know, one of the most important conversations I've had this entire campaign, it was with someone who was much too young to vote. I met with 6-year-old Gianna Floyd the day before her daddy, George Floyd, was laid to rest. She's an incredibly brave little girl. And I'll never forget it. When I leaned down to speak to her, she looked in my eyes and she said, and I quote, "Daddy changed the world. Daddy changed the world." Her words burrowed deep into my heart. Maybe George Floyd's murder was a breaking point. Maybe John Lewis's passing the inspiration. But however it's come to be, however it's happened, America's ready, in John's words, to lay down, quote, the heavy burden of hate at last, and to end the hard work of rooting out our systemic racism. You know, American history tells us that it's been in our darkest moments that we've made our greatest progress, that we found the light. In this dark moment, I believe we're poised to make great progress again, that we can find the light once more. You know, many people have heard me say this, but I've always believed you can define America in one word: possibilities. The defining feature of America: everything is possible. That in America, everyone, and I mean everyone, should be given an opportunity to go as far as their dreams and God-given ability will take them. We can never lose that. In times as challenging as these, I believe there's only one way forward. As a united America, united in our pursuit of a more perfect union, united in our dreams of a better future for us and for our children, united in our determination to make the coming years bright. Are you ready? I believe we are. This is a great nation. We're a good and decent people. For Lord's sake, this is the United States of America. And there's never been anything we've been able to accomplish when we've done it together. The Irish poet Seamus Heaney once wrote, "History says, don't hope on this side of the grave, but then, once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme." This is our moment to make hope and history rhyme. With passion and purpose, let us begin, you and I together, one nation, under God, united in our love for America, united in our love for each other. For love is more powerful than hate, hope is more powerful than fear, and light is more powerful than dark. This is our moment. This is our mission. May history be able to say that the end of this chapter of American darkness began here tonight, as love and hope and light join in the battle for the soul of the nation. And this is a battle we will win, and we'll do it together. I promise you. Thank you, and may God bless you, and may God protect our troops.
Wow. Wow. Very good speech, I must say. You know, not pretending to be the most progressive guy in the world, and he's not, and that's not what this was about. But did what he had to do. The Trumpists expecting an implosion, they're going to be relegated to Trump tweeting in all caps more than likely within a few minutes. I think it was well done. Well done. Did what he had to do is what matters. Now, it is going to be a shift with the RNC next week. You know, that St. Louis couple who waved guns at protesters is going to be speaking. So it is going to be a different sort of thing. Quite a day, quite a day. People at the drive-in. Oh, people want me to check in with Destiny. All right, let's see what's up with Destiny. I'm really only going to do 5 minutes because I do have to get to bed because PogChamp starts tomorrow. So we're not going to do too much, but I do want to see what's going on with
We are going to do too much. Welcome to the 60-minute. I'm so excited, guys. I've got Deepak on stream for 60 minutes now to talk about that. What's up? How is it going? David Deepak Pacman from twitch.tv.
So what did you think?
I mean, this probably did what it was supposed to do. All the shit and everything.
That was my thought.
I don't think I was ever the intended audience for something like this, but I thought that I feel like the last two nights were markedly better than the first two, except for on the third night when it was like every state going through their shit. But that was boring to me. But a lot of Americans probably like to see that shit, to see their state or whatever.
Yeah, that was it was certainly boring, but part of the entire thing. I mean, it's like, listen, if you were hoping for the most progressive speech ever, with Bernie rhetoric, it's like, no, of course you weren't going to get that. But the point was, half of Trumpists were expecting Biden to be barely able to put a sentence together. Obviously, that did not pan out for them. And he hit coronavirus, which is the most important issue for voters, according to polls. He hit economy. He sounded like a normal person. He seems to have a normal relationship with his family. It's like he's everything Trump's not. That's it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Sorry, you brought up the other the leftist stuff. I've been trying so hard over the past few months to get away from fucking Twitter politics because it fucking drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But one of the things that a lot of people in my chat and then on Twitter and then other people on like the leftist are mad about is that like they didn't talk about healthcare more. You can tell me if I think my take is crazy or whatever, but like I think right now I don't think the average American cares about like a public option or whatever healthcare debate. I think most people just want the economy to get back to normal so they can get back to work and not have to worry about like schools getting shut down or work getting shut down or business getting shut down because of the coronavirus. I think that's like the number one like far and away issue on most American minds right now.
Yeah, this is not a trivial difference between what Joe Biden wants to do and what Bernie Sanders wanted to do.
For sure.
Of course, but the three most important issues according to voters right now are the virus, the economy, and race relations. That's like 60, 65. I don't remember the exact number. So you want to focus on what are voting issues and you want to focus. I think people know with Trump's plan, 30 million people lose health insurance. With Biden's, more people get it. It's not Bernie's plan, but it's not a top three issue acutely right now. And so I think he did the right thing.
Yeah. I think like people will care about like the plans and shit when they roll out, but I don't think right now, I don't think that like the concern is like nuanced like policy debate on the healthcare plans. Yeah.
It's not good. This is like you have to tell a story where you're closing out the fourth day with a story about why all of this stuff built up to Biden as opposed to Trump. For Biden to go in and say, we're going to, here's how the public option is going to work and all of this stuff. It's just not the right place for it. I'm not saying it's not important. Obviously, it's hugely important, but it's just not the speech for it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I got PogChamps tomorrow. I might be getting crushed.
Oh, man. By who?
It's Hafu.
Oh, yeah. You haven't played her yet.
I haven't played anybody. Tomorrow it starts.
Man, I'd be really worried if I was you.
Yeah,
wow.
No, I am. Which is why, I'm gonna sleep. I've got about 20 hours left until the match. I plan to sleep for 16 of them just to be super well rested.
Wow, that's really smart. Just getting 16 hours of sleep.
Yep. So, by the way, are you playing a game while we talk right now?
Yeah, it's called Factorio. Why?
No, it's interesting how you can do both at once.
Why do you have my stream up? What do you have my stream up while you're talking to me right now?
Yeah, I'm stream sniping.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
Yeah. That's what the kids told me.
What did you think overall, I guess, of everything?
I mean, I just think the format sucks. The format is going to make a lot of stuff that would be pretty okay with a crowd just very cringeworthy. So, I mean, I'm curious to see what Republicans do with it next week. I mean, like the thing is, it's like next week, the St. Louis couple who brandished firearms at protesters is going to be speaking, at the, it's a shit show.
That's Republicans will probably love it, right?
They may, yeah. But one of the Covington kids, I just don't know that right now, most people are decided. So if the idea is there's a slice of the electorate that maybe hasn't decided or isn't sure if they're voting, I don't know if the gun brandishing couple is what gets people out to the vote.
Well, I've heard that like for most of politics, especially like big elections, it's not really about like turning voters. It's just about turning out your base.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean,
well, maybe it'll work for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, my friend, listen, it sounds like you're about to go on a raid or something, so I'm going to let you get back to it. I I don't know if you're
Okay.
about to tap someone's mana or anything like that, but it seems like this is quite a game you've got going here. So, it's a thing, but let's see how the RNC goes next week.
Yeah, for sure. I hate to say it, but I feel like it's going to be really entertaining.
I know. Well, the thing is, the RNC is going to be more fun than the DNC. It's going to be, more evidence of the downfall of humanity, but it'll be more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be interesting. All right. Well, good luck and poggers, champs. And I hope you get that 16 hours of sleep.
All right, Stephen, we'll talk to you.
All right. I'll see you later.
Okay, we'll see you.
David.
There's
Deep-
Kenny 2, as I know him. Some people know him as the second. I call him Kenny 2. All right, everybody. In all seriousness, I do want to do a strong day of prep tomorrow for PogChamp. So I'm going to run. The fireworks are beautiful, but once you've seen one firework, you've seen them all. And we'll talk to everybody tomorrow.